And we are live. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Crypto Conversation stream. Today we have a special guest from Hycon, all the way from South Korea. We have Jason French from Hycon and we have NIALL More with me today. And what we're going to talk about today is everything that's happening in South Korea, because South Korea today is the biggest market. You talk about the crypto exchanges, you talk about the ICOs. There have been so many ICOs from South Korea, which has been very popular. And Hycon itself has been working for a very long time. It's a very different project I've been very bullish on. So it's my pleasure to have you, Jason and NIALL. How are you doing?
Very good, Shiv. Thank you very much for having us. And I just want to correct you. It's actually NIALL.
NIALL. Okay, so this is where the difficulty comes when you're from different geographies. But yeah, thank you so much, NIALL. Okay.
Or you will not be the last one.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, you're right. The cryptocurrency craze is definitely it's pretty hot here in South Korea. Just out the window here from our office, we can see a big advertisement on the bus stop for a cryptocurrency exchange. They're all over the buses. Like this morning when I was on the bus coming to work, you could see people trading on their phone, on Upbit, and other related cryptocurrency exchanges. So it's really, kind of sweeping the nation right now in South Korea.
Well, it's good in a way, because I believe that the countries which are going to be accepting this technology, the blockchain and technology, are going to stay ahead, because we are talking about the Internet 2.0. So I wish that India would have been at the same forefront, but it's good to see that South Korea is doing that.
I agree with you, man. I think most of us in the industry feel, the same way, that this is really going to be a big game changer for a number of different industries moving forward. So the countries that are at the forefront of this movement are definitely going to be in a better position than the other countries. But it's my understanding that India has, it's maybe a bit cold on it, but it's not gone so far as to ban everything and make everything impossible, right? No,
they haven't banned anything. It's just that the central bank has said that they do not want the banks to be involved into cryptocurrency trade. But they also gone ahead and said that people can trade cryptocurrency offline, right? But not in the bank account. So, so that's a good one. But thank you so much for coming on the show, NIALL and Jason. It's my pleasure to have you. Let's start with the introduction. Would you like to introduce yourself for the people who might not know you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jason French, VP here with Hycon, in charge of global business operations. And beside me is
NIALL More. I lead up our blockchain R&D team, specifically Hycon team.
Yeah, so we are both full-time dedicated to the Hycon project, but we work for the parent company to launch the project, Gloucester.
Great. So tell us, for the people who might not know what is an ICO. So I'm sure, people are investing into ICO, but what is an ICO and what is Hycon all about?
Well, what is an ICO? That's interesting. I have to give a talk about that in Seoul on Thursday. What new opportunities and chances for ICO, something like that. ICOs are something that are relatively new. I could be off, but I think it's around 2014 was about the first. There may have been one before that, but anyways, yeah, it's kind of a new way to crowdfund projects. Right. Essentially, in the past, and most of the people from the financial sector are probably pretty familiar with an IPO. So, in a sense, it shares many similar characteristics to an IPO. Now, the big difference with an ICO, though, is that you're not actually buying shares in a company, and most of the tokens and coins that you end up buying do not produce any dividends, and there's generally, there should be no expectation of a value increase in your investment. The idea behind it is to give funding to the people, to projects, groups of engineers and others that have, good ideas. Whereas before, garnering this kind of funding, you'd have to go through maybe VC, and a lot of people, it's difficult to get VC. VCs often come with a lot of conditions and controls, and often an ownership stake in the entity itself. So it's kind of a new model where we can publicly crowdfund exciting projects, and one that of course we do well at Hycon.
Well, yeah, just to follow on from what Jason was saying, it seems like it's like a natural progression from the crowdfunding economy. If you look at things like Kickstarter, GoFundMe, etc., people are moving more and more away from the traditional VC or institutional money-based ways of funding projects and looking to kind of spread it in a more decentralized manner. And with the decentralized nature of blockchain, it seems like kind of a perfect synergy of a way to get your projects off the ground.
Yeah, and another beautiful thing I like about the ICO model is that it gives access to the regular person globally, whereas before, participation in these investments or the investment participation was very controlled geographically, as well as by your, let's say, economic status as an accredited investor. So now we've removed some of those barriers with the ICO model, where you can have people globally, almost globally, because certain citizens are still not allowed by their national governments, but generally speaking, most people around the world can get access to these investments and contribute at their own will. And often it's very small amounts even that are available. You don't need to be an accredited investor. So I really do like that it opens up this world of possibilities for people. But at the flip side, though, the one thing that we've seen as we run our ICO as well is that I think continuous education for the people who want to participate in these ICOs is very important. I think certain frameworks from the governments are actually probably helpful, especially some kind of safety mechanisms so that people have some protections from being scammed. Because anyone in the space, we've heard about some of these schemes where people got ripped off, and it's unfortunate to hear about these situations. But as the market matures, I think we're seeing fewer and fewer and fewer true scams in this space. I think a lot of countries and the industry in itself is kind of self-policing between the Telegram, the Twitter, the Reddit, even YouTube, broadcasts like this, like what you do. A lot of people are doing a lot of due diligence on these projects. And inside our Telegram group chat, you see a lot of vigilance by the community themselves. I think that people are getting smarter, which is great. And people are warning other people, hey, this guy's a scammer and don't fall for this. And so I think you're starting to see some good progress to weed out the bad sides of ICOs.
Great. So basically, so the new technology, the blockchain technology, has decentralized money. It's democratized crowdfunding as well. I mean, this is the new revolution, because all of a sudden now every individual have right to invest into any project that they want, right. And it is not limited by geographies or anything like that. So which is a revolution, human revolution, I would say. Tell me something, what is Hycon all about, Jason? And
Well, when we started conceptualizing the Hycon project, we looked at the existing state of most of the blockchains that were available. And as is widely known, one of the biggest problems thus far with blockchain technology is scalability. And the scalability factor actually helps to limit and hinder, I think, some of the progress of the industry as a whole, which is why you're seeing like the biggest public blockchains out there trying to find ways to kind of alleviating it over this hurdle. And it's been about 10 years since the Bitcoin white paper dropped, and there's been a lot of subsequent research, and there's different ways that we can formulate and build blockchains. So we started doing our own research into how might we make something that was faster and more scalable from the onset, but still maintain consensus in a decentralized manner. So that's what led us to the discovery of the Spectre consensus protocol. And that's the main idea behind the genesis of the project, is we want to build something that is fast, scalable, that has the transaction throughput capacity to really gain kind of mass adoption. And I think that most of even the best projects are still struggling to find the right mix. And I think that that's where we're kind of a niche in the market where we hope that we're able to provide that scalability on chain for the world to build on.
So one of the biggest issue with the current blockchains that we have is scalability. You talk about the Bitcoin having 5 transactions a second, and Ethereum also we saw what happened with CryptoKitties. So even though the blockchain is going to be the next revolution, but one of the major hurdle right now is that whether can we build a blockchain which is scalable and can take so many of transactions. And one thing that I noticed here on the Hycon here, it is faster, that is quick transaction confirmation times, and it's scalable and frictionless. So would you be able to talk to us on how does Hycon achieve that?
Well, moving forward, the way we looked at increasing our throughput was we looked at how existing systems worked, and we came to the conclusion that there were 2 ways to increase the raw on-chain throughput. One of which is to make bigger blocks, which is the Bitcoin cacher moving towards that, increasing their blocks to 32 megabytes. I think you can do tomorrow, maybe.
Soon, yeah.
Or the other thing you can do is reduce the time between blocks. So in Bitcoin, for example, the blocks are every 600 seconds. Ethereum is doing blocks every 15 seconds or so. The problem with that is as you reduce the time between blocks, you've got a chance of unintentional forking of the chain. And so we kind of looked at ways we could bring the interblock time down, but maintain consensus and handle these unintentional forks. And that's kind of what led us to vector research and the DAG structure. Being able to resolve that instead of a linear structure, being able to resolve transactions in that DAG structure, that's kind of led us to be able to build something a little bit faster.
Right. And so what would be the use cases, what would be the main use cases of Hycon in future?
Initially, looking at payments, being able to be transacted in quickly is highly desirable if you're trying to pay for something. You don't have to wait for 3 confirmations, which could take 30 minutes to buy your coffee. You can just go, it's like, okay, pay, and you're done. Things like public transportation, like here in Seoul, we've got like transportation cards. You just tap them and it charges you for your transportation costs. Something like that could be leveraged with a high-speed payment solution as well. Like that's something that we're really looking to do in the future.
Yeah, and also incorporating them into, say, for example, online payment solutions within like applications, like games and things like that, that require low cost of transaction and high speed. So we could definitely foresee some sort of integration into certain systems like that as well, given the fact that we'll have the capability to be put into such situations and still be a valid and useful method of payment. Whereas with, like Niall said, we don't have to wait for 30 minutes or something to get a confirmation time.
Right. So Hycon just concluded their successful ICO. I think you just tweeted a couple of hours back, I guess. So congratulations on that. And
thank you, and thanks to everybody in the community from all around the world. I mean, we were blown away by the support from everybody. We've got a lot of people rooting for us and cheering us on. Now the ball's in our court, and we've got a long road ahead of us. But we're looking forward to to delivering on our promises. And we ended up selling, finishing the ICO an hour or 1 day, 8 hours early. So, we had a lot of velocity at the end.
I think the last 20% sold out in the space of about 2 hours. It's just like all of a sudden everyone was piling in.
Yeah, we left together on a Thursday night, and we were kind of joking that maybe by morning we'll be 5% left. And I think we were talking 2 hours later on the phone, like, hey, what happened? It's all gone. The contributions are full. So yeah, again, thank you to everybody, because that means a lot to everybody here at the team.
I think that's also because I mean, Hycon is a product of Glossphere.com, which is already an existing blockchain company, which has been into existence for quite a few years. And one thing that people do look out for when they choose an ICO is they actually look out at the background and how long they have been building it up and the team and all. So I think that is where the trust also comes from, and I think one of the reasons why the Hycon was so successful, and because of course the efficient team and the great future ahead. So would you be able to, so right now the Hycon tokens which is being distributed, is it the mainnet or is it a ERC20 tokens, and is there going to be a swap later on?
So we're going to just launch our tokens on our mainnet June 1st. While we're doing the ERC20 token, which in retrospect might have been a little bit less work for us, but
would have been easier. Now we get why a lot of projects use the ERC20 token
standard. So we're going to launch our mainnet token. So people who have purchased Hycon in our ICO they'll have to have a Hycon wallet, which we're making available very, very soon. And basically we will send their tokens to those Hycon addresses that people will have them on the chain.
So I'd like to reiterate for everybody listening, we are not an ERC20 token. This is a common misconception. For some reason, we've been pretty clear about this the whole time, but people miss things and whatnot. So we just want to make sure everybody is prepared for that. Do not try to send it to my Ether wallet because it will not work. So we are our own blockchain protocol. We will be releasing the tokens, just distributing the tokens. Our goal is to begin on June 1st with the mainnet launch. In ahead of that mainnet launch, we also are aiming to get the wallets out at least a good maybe week ahead of the mainnet launch, something like that, 5 days or so. So that way people can actually go to the wallet, set it up, get ready, and that'll help speed up make the process more efficient once the distribution happens. So
I foresee not everyone doing it. We're going to have to be emailing us like, please set up a Hycon wallet so we can give you your Hycon.
Yeah, we want to give you your coins. Please set up a wallet.
Okay, so you're saying that in a few days from now you'll have the Hycon wallet available on the hycon.io where people can download the wallet, correct?
Yeah, I believe the address is going to be like wallet.hycon.io, and it's just going to be an interface similar to my Ether wallet.
Yeah, it'll be like a web-based wallet.
So like a web-based wallet. The desktop wallets will follow a little bit later after the mainnet launch. We're also working on integration for Nano and Trezor.
Yeah. We've got a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline. The devs are very busy right now, obviously. But it's exciting because we're getting so close to actually launching it publicly, which is really an amazing feeling actually after this long process.
Yeah, I see that you have some of the use cases mentioned on the site, which is, and I also heard about some partnerships happening lately. Obviously, that's also because of Glossphere being the existing company. Could you talk about some of the partnerships that exist already, and some of the use cases? Like I also see an Infinity decentralized exchange as well, which will be coming up soon on.
Yeah, I mean, so I think one of the unique structures of Glossphere and Hycon as a partnership, I mean, we're all part of the same family. And Glossphere has a number of different blockchain businesses that are ongoing right now. And the main goal for many of these business units is to create use cases for Hycon itself. And I think it's a pretty unique structure. Instead of having like 5 developers and a couple marketers that are building a blockchain and, let's see what people want to do with it, we're actually, kind of preemptively building use cases for the blockchain itself. So again, I can't release all of the things that we're talking about yet because some of these we've got the planned releases coming up. But there's some pretty cool projects that we're working on in-house, a couple that are basically just waiting for the mainnet to be functional, operational. But we do have a couple projects that I could already tell you about. The one that we had mentioned before we had the talk is the NIALL local currency. You'll hear Taewon Kim, the CEO, talk about this quite a bit. It's a pretty cool pilot project. It's the first public-private partnership, or P3, in South Korea. in terms of a blockchain project where we partnered with the local government. So NIALL is a district inside of Seoul. So we partnered with the local district government there, and we actually have a live cryptocurrency ecosystem happening in that district, where basically people get rewarded in NIALL coins for doing good deeds, like volunteering their time, volunteering money. You get rewarded in this cryptocurrency. So there's a web interface, and I think there's an app as well for payments. And what you can do is then once you receive this coin, you can go into the local economy and actually spend this cryptocurrency for real world things, like, for example, a municipal parking lot. You can pay up to 10% of your parking fee in this cryptocurrency.
Like basically all the government-owned kind of facilities, anything you have to pay for, most of them have set up that you can use a percentage of NIALL Cash as part of your payments.
So this is a really cool pilot project for us. It's not running on Hycon, of course, because Hycon, the Infinity blockchain, has not yet launched, but it's coming. And the idea is to then migrate this project as well as others onto our blockchain. And this has actually been pretty widely successful. You can search about it in the English news as well. We've had a lot of interest in South Korea and from other municipal jurisdictions in other countries as well. So people are reaching out to us. They're looking at this use case like, oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe we could implement this in our municipality as well. So another interesting project that we have is we have a mental health project called Maum Tok Tok. That's the Korean name. I think maybe talking to the heart would be a good translation into English. It's hard to exactly to translate that, but I think talking to the heart would be a good one. Maybe some of the Koreans listening might disagree, but anyway, this is a mental health project that we've partnered with a municipality down in Daegu, which Daegu is the third largest city in South Korea, and actually where my wife is from. And long story short, for this project, the blockchain use case would be payments, of course, built into the payment system of this device that we've actually also helped to develop and build in-house, and to maintain anonymity for the people receiving the help, because seeking mental health care in many countries can be something that people avoid because they're worried about the ramifications that if employer or family member or friends or somebody found out about that you've got a mental health disorder or problem, so often people end up just avoiding getting any help. So this is one way we foresee blockchain and hopefully the Infinity blockchain to be able to provide this benefit to people as well. So that's just a couple of the partnerships that we've got going locally. So in terms of like a short-term roadmap, of course, we've got the wallets that'll be coming out soon. The source code will be released quite soon as well. So the dev team is just kind of putting the final touches on that. And once it's ready, we're going to get that up onto GitHub. We've got a bunch of stuff up on GitHub right now already. Including the mining module
the miners are up there, but
so anybody interested in mining can check it out. But yeah, I mean, there'll be continuous updates as well. Then we've got the mainnet launching on June 1st. That's the goal. Following that, of course, then we will have listing at some point, which I can't share more information than at some point soon after the mainnet launch that it will happen.
We are
sworn to secrecy. So when we tell the community, then of course we will tell them as soon as we can.
Yeah, we're working hard on that one. Because obviously, people need to have some way of trading the tokens that they have. So it's kind of one of our highest priorities is to get them listed somewhere so that people have somewhere to trade them.
And then outside of the tech roadmap, if you follow our social media, you'll see this. Myself and some of the other team will be, well, not the devs though, because we've got these guys basically locked,
handcuffed to my desk
throughout the key. So they'll be stuck here instead. But a big portion of the team will actually be traveling to Europe next week. So I leave for Switzerland on Sunday, and we're hoping to bring in another advisor to the team, a very interesting individual to help us. And then from there, I'll be heading to Austria And Taewon Kim is going to be giving a lecture at a fintech conference called Pioneers in Vienna, which is pretty exciting. And then from there, we'll be moving over to Berlin, and we'll be attending the Block Show Europe 2-day conference on Monday, Tuesday, 28, 29, 27, 28. So if anybody out there in cyberspace is going to be in Berlin, please look for us. We'll be wearing our Hycon t-shirts. We're very approachable. Would love to talk cryptocurrency. Love to talk to you about the project. Yeah, so then a little bit more long-term, something you mentioned before, Shiv, the DEX. So that's definitely one of the things that I'm personally very excited about. And I know that there's a few devs that are also really excited about the DEX. You know, I think decentralized exchange is going to be something we're going to see and use a lot more of in the coming years. There are a few examples of them available already, but I think that maybe there's room for improvement on these. So, you know, we're really looking forward to releasing a DEX on top of the Infinity blockchain that will provide a really good user interface, good speeds, and really build something decentralized that people want to use to transact in. But yeah, I mean, that's it's not something that you can just flick a switch and the development is done. It's a very complicated process, and I know the guys are working on it now. So yeah, very, very exciting portion of the project.
Right. I have a question here in the comment. Hezekiah Christian, he's asking, so Hycon is all about low cost, lightning fast transactions so that it can be used in real world use cases. And the question mark, is that right?
Yeah, that's
bang on, man.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Amazing. And there's another question. Sandeep said, is Hycon built on Ethereum? Which I've already answered. It's not an ERC20 token. It's not built on Ethereum.
Not an ERC20 token. Yeah, we're our own blockchain protocol. So we'll be something new.
Right. And you know, we were supposed to have this interview last week, in fact, couple of 10 days back, and you have been really busy in building up during the ICO and working on this project, and so finally we are here talking. But then the first time we were scheduled for this interview, and the same day, I guess, there was South Korea, there was this ICO meetup assembly, government assembly, something like that on ICO, and I think Hycon did participate, and I think the CEO, I mean, I think he was speaking on this government event as well. So that's really exciting. What was this meetup all about, and how are these regulators looking at that? What was the outcome of it?
Yeah, I guess I can speak to that since I was in the audience actually watching this. So basically, it was a meetup actually at the National Assembly of South Korea, so the government's National Assembly. There, you know, it's a big complex. There's many different buildings and rooms, and the goal was to meet with you know, members of the National Assembly, so lawmakers, as well as industry leaders in the same place to talk about some of the difficulties in the industry, and then some of the good things about what it could mean for the country, and just to kind of get both sides talking in the same room, going over the main points, and how we can actually promote blockchain technology in South Korea, and take advantage of that on a national scale. So, you know, the outcome of that was actually quite positive. The lawmakers are very interested. Like most countries, they tread lightly. They don't want to stifle innovation, but they also want to ensure that there are enough protections in place that people are not getting, you know, hurt by you know, devious actors in the space. So the general feel that I got from the lawmakers that were talking was that there's still kind of a laissez-faire kind of approach, a wait and see. Let's see what's happening. We don't want to intervene too much. Now, the government's already taken some steps here in South Korea. So the first steps that they took a few months back were to really stricten or, like, you know, tighten up the for the exchanges. So the trading exchanges here started paying big tax bills back to the government for their profits. Then they instituted very strict KYC and AML procedures for anybody who wants to trade on a cryptocurrency exchange in South Korea. So, and again, from our perspective, these are good things. Like we did KYC AML as well for our ICO. It's just a good way to add some legitimacy to make sure that the right actors are taking part in the space and keeping those who shouldn't probably participate on the sidelines. So those are some of the things that we've seen so far in South Korea. There is national elections coming up in June. So it's unlikely for us to see any big changes before the election season is over. There's a chance that we'll see some sort of additional framework and regulatory framework. I know the government's been talking about actually instituting some sort of a framework to legalize ICOs. And I should clarify something. That doesn't mean that they're currently illegal in South Korea. In a lot of English media misreports on this fact, actually. They're not banned in South Korea. They're simply not regulated, period. So it sits in sort of a gray area, if you will. So there's talk of actually instituting some kind of a framework so that, the companies and the projects, they know how they can operate and what they can do, what they need to do, how to report things and whatnot. Yeah, so it's all pretty exciting. It's all pretty positive. You've got a lot of big projects coming out of Seoul these days. Some of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges are here. You've got government projects. You've got big companies like Samsung and LG announcing things with blockchain. Banks are getting so. I feel like we're on the cusp of some big changes, and I think South Korea is a pretty interesting market for cryptocurrencies because they're so well connected here. The infrastructure for IT and internet is just unbelievable. Like I'm from Canada, and the speeds here are just 10 times what they get where I'm from. Everybody uses a smartphone. I think the smartphone penetration rate is something like 90%.
I'd say it's higher. I'd say it's
higher.
105%.
Yeah.
Some people have 2.
And people use electronic payments already. Like Kakao is the big thing here. It's like WeChat basically, but it's just as big as WeChat in Korea. Everybody uses that.
There's practically like 5G internet on all the subways now, pretty much. You go around anywhere and you say, "Oh, 5G internet, 5G."
Yeah. So I mean, it's a really great test bed to bring in these new digital technologies. In my opinion, people are very tech friendly instead of tech phobic. So
yeah, I think in our ICO, the oldest participant was born in like the 1930s or something. Right?
Yeah, but I actually think that was a Canadian fellow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure though. But anyways, yeah, born in the 30s that participated in that, which is amazing.
Yeah, great. So, Jason, I want to take this opportunity because you are sitting in South Korea right now, and so I want to take this opportunity to ask you the recent. There was, I would call it a FUD, maybe fear, uncertainty, doubt, which is so common for our crypto community. The recent suspect on Upbit, that one of the biggest exchange from South Korea has been suspected, and then on the same day, as soon as the news came out, the market almost dropped by 20-30%. So what exactly is the story? What exactly happened with the Upbit?
Yeah, I mean, so the financial regulators are still trying to determine exactly what happened. But there have been a number of reports, and you can find some of this information on Twitter. Joseph Young, who has been reporting on this quite regularly. He's awesome, by the way. Everybody, if you want the latest news out of South Korea, follow Joseph Young. He's great.
Yeah, he's really good.
It looks like there was a misunderstanding of the custodial rights of the Bitcoin that Upbit was selling to consumers. So I think it's more of a misunderstanding than doing anything shady or illegal. It's my understanding as well that Upbit is probably is a very well run and respected company. I think all of the major cryptocurrency exchanges in South Korea would fall under that category. They're all trying to do things the right way. So I really do think that this was just maybe swift reaction from the regulators, but it was based on more of a misunderstanding. But we don't know exactly. I mean, we have to wait till they conclude their investigation, because no one really knows. But it is interesting, Hayshiv, like the reaction of the markets when this came out, and it's hard for me to understand a 20 to 30% sell-off because of one cryptocurrency exchange in one country investigation. I think that shows still the let's say the immaturity of the market at this point, where people are still really trigger happy to pull this trigger. Like as soon as there's a little bit of bad information, then there's a huge sell-off, which I think over time we're going to see a bit of that kind of erased. But I think the 20% sell-off roughly that we saw has just about been recovered. So yeah, it seems like this is going to work itself out. I'm not an expert on this. This is just my personal opinion. I think it looks like it should be. We'll get over this pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons that happened, because I look at South Korea as next China right now, because I think the volume is same as it used to be when the Chinese exchanges used to operate, and most of the Chinese exchanges have actually moved on to South Korea. So I think it's China's loss and South Korea's gain is how I look at it. Now South Korea is the next. So I won't take much of your time, Jason. I think you have a lot on your plate to work on the Hycon project, so I'm not going to take a lot of time. Before we wrap up this interview, anything that you want to share about Hycon? Anything that I haven't asked? Anything that you would like to share?
Just to the community, again, thank you very much for the support, everyone. Again, it was overwhelming, and it was an amazing experience to be part of. So stay up to date with all of our social media channels to check out what's going on. Please engage with us on Reddit after the mainnet is launched, because the devs are too busy right now. But we love to take tech questions as well. We want to get people interested in our technology, and I know that there's a huge developer community in India as well. So I'd encourage everybody to who's interested in this to really reach out and check out our technology once everything's public on GitHub. Also, stay tuned for the bounty program. So we're going to be launching a bounty program very soon as well, to try to encourage more participation in the community. Of course, to enhance the code, get people developing, improving, coming up with better solutions, or maybe improving some of the solutions we have. So stay tuned for that as well. Again, stay tuned for us. So we're going to be in Europe, so we'll be tweeting and whatnot from our travels in Europe. And so I really appreciate the sponsorship. Thanks for having us on. It's been a great talk.
It was my pleasure, Jason. So you have already have the Twitter handle here, then the Telegram channel. People can join the Telegram Telegram channel as well, and
Telegram channel as well, which people can check out, because that will become a much more that will just be for big announcements or even little announcements about Hycon moving forward. We're still maintaining our Telegram group chat for the time being, because we've got 11,000 members. We want to keep engaged.
And
the announcements channel on the Hycon announcements channel, because I think on Telegram that would be the best way to make sure that you stay up to date with the latest news regarding the project.
So I'm going to leave these links in the description below, so in case you want to join the Hycon Telegram, do that. And the source code is going to be available on GitHub from 1st of June, as soon as the mainnet launches, to do participate. And
there then, maybe a little bit before.
We're hoping to get it
a little bit before that.
We've got the in-house testnet going. I guess the devs always want to do another correction, or make it a little bit prettier, or some more testing before it goes live. But it will all be made public, of course, by mainnet launch. But the goal is to get it up there actually quite a bit before the mainnet launch. So stay tuned for that, coming soon.
Great, that's great. So amazing. It was my pleasure to have you, Jason and NIALL, on the show, and I hope to see you soon. Talk to you soon, guys. And all the best. And
if you ever want to talk about the project or South Korea again, we'd love to have a chat.
Yes, definitely. We'll talk to you soon, and wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming on the show. See you all.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.